Somewhere in the rot of a forest floor, something is waiting, not moving, not breathing, but alive, in its own way. Fungi aren't plants. They aren't animals. They're something older, stranger, embedded so deep into the architecture of decay that entire ecosystems depend on their silence. Today, 13 organisms that break every rule of what alive should look like. Some bleed, some smell like the dead, some glow in the dark for reasons science still argues about. This isn't a story about pretty mushrooms. It's a story about the machinery under the forest floor, running for 400 million years without asking permission. Let's start with the one that looks like it's already bleeding. The bleeding tooth fungus looks like it's dying. Thick red droplets bead across its white surface, dripping like a wound that won't close. It isn't blood, it's guttation, the fungus pushing out excess water under root pressure, stained red by pigments called atromentin and thelaphoric acid. Atromentin acts as an anticoagulant, structurally close to the heparin used in modern medicine, and researchers have studied it for antibacterial potential. But the fungus isn't producing this for us. It lives mycorrhizally, threading into pine and spruce roots, trading minerals for sugar in a partnership older than most species alive today. The bleeding only appears in humid, cool conditions, pressure, not injury, and that's the unsettling part. Something that looks like suffering is, biologically, just plumbing. The fungus doesn't know it's frightening. It only knows how to survive. Devil's fingers begins sealed inside a pale, egg-shaped sac underground. Then it splits open, 4 to 7 blood-red tentacles tearing upward through the earth. Native to Australia and New Zealand, Clathrus archeri reached Europe in the wreckage of World War I, likely in wool packed with army supplies, and it's been spreading since. Its arms are coated in gleba, a slime that smells of decaying flesh. Dimethyl trisulfide, the same compound signature as a rotting carcass. Carrion flies, built to find death from a mile away, follow that scent straight to it. They land, feed, and walk away covered in spores. The fungus never moves. It doesn't need to. It mimics death well enough that death's usual visitors do the traveling for it. Patients disguised as a corpse. The veiled lady fungus builds a wedding veil, a lace-thin skirt unfurling beneath its cap in under an hour, growing by rapid cell elongation rather than division, fast enough to watch move in time-lapse. Phallus induciatus produces a slimy spore mass reeking of rotting meat, built from putrescine and cadaverine, the molecules of decomposing flesh. Flies arrive convinced they've found a carcass. Instead, they find lace, and the spore slime beneath it. In parts of China, it's harvested before the smell develops and eaten in soup, a strange contrast to how it hunts in the wild. The lace isn't beauty, it's surface area, spreading more scent across more space to guarantee contact. When something in nature looks this elegant, the elegance is usually doing quiet, calculated work. The starfish fungus doesn't grow its arms by accident. Acero rubra splits into 6 to 10 radiating red tentacles, nearly symmetrical, resembling something stranded from the ocean, though it's never touched one. Like its relatives, it erupts from an underground egg within hours of the right moisture. At its center, a ring of dark slime releases the same sulfur compounds found in decomposing flesh. The radial shape isn't cosmetic. It broadcasts scent in every direction at once, making it nearly impossible for a fly navigating by smell to miss. Within minutes, flies land, walk through the slime, and carry spores onward. The whole structure collapses within a day or two. One purpose, executed with precision, then gone. Few organisms commit that completely to a single performance. The Latticed Stinkhorn grows its own cage. Clathrus rubra emerges as a red, spherical lattice of interwoven struts, more coral than fungus. It starts as a subterranean egg, a structure scientists compare to an embryo, expanding to full size within hours, once triggered by moisture. Its inner surface is coated in dark, sulfur-scented gleba, the same signature that reads as decomposition to any nearby insect. Flies enter looking for a meal that doesn't exist, crawl through the slime, and leave through the same open gaps. Easy escape, by design. A trapped insect that dies is a wasted vector. One that leaves alive and coated in spores is a transport system. There's a cold intelligence in building a trap elaborate enough to lure something in, but open enough to guarantee it leaves. Some mushrooms glow in the dark, and researchers still aren't fully certain why. Mycena chlorophyos and Panellus stypticus produce soft green light through a reaction between luciferin and luciferase, the same basic chemistry behind fireflies and deep-sea fish, evolved independently in fungi at least twice. The glow, called foxfire, runs on a circadian rhythm tied to temperature, not light. Evidence it's regulated, not accidental. One theory says the light lures nocturnal insects that then disperse spores where wind can't reach. Camera traps near glowing fungi record more insect visits than dark specimens nearby. Another theory says it's just biochemical exhaust from neutralizing oxidative stress. Light with no purpose at all. Nobody's settled it. Somewhere tonight, something is glowing green in total darkness, running a function no one has fully explained. The brain mushroom looks disturbingly like a human brain, its cap folded into dense convolutions almost too close to cerebral tissue. Gyromitra esculenta grows across northern hemisphere conifer forests, and beneath the look sits a genuinely dangerous chemical, gyrometrin, which breaks down in the body into monomethylhydrazine, a compound also used, industrially, as rocket propellant. It's toxic to the liver and nervous system, fatal at high doses. And yet in Scandinavia and Eastern Europe, it's still eaten, boiled, and drained repeatedly to leach the toxin out, a process that still occasionally fails. Symptoms can take 6 to 12 hours to appear, giving the toxin time to spread before anyone notices. The fungus isn't punishing anyone. It just waits, brain-shaped in the leaf litter, holding a chemical humans once used to launch machines into space. Dead man's fingers grow straight out of decaying wood, dark and swollen, clustered like a hand reaching up from the ground. Xylaria polymorpha is saprobic. It feeds entirely on dead material, breaking down lignin and cellulose with enzymes that would otherwise take decades to work through wood naturally. Before it ever surfaces, it spends months or years growing invisibly through a stump as thread-like mycelium, consuming from within. What emerges is only the reproductive structure, a fraction of an organism that may span meters underground, unseen. Each finger releases thousands of spores into the wind, toward the next dead tree. This isn't destruction for its own sake. Forests need something willing to break down what's already dead. Somewhere under every old forest, something is patiently taking the past apart to build what's next. The jelly ear grows in rubbery clusters almost exclusively on elder trees. Its shape close enough to a human ear that early naturalists named it for folklore. Judas's ear, tied to the legend that it sprouted from the tree Judas hanged himself from. No biological basis, but the name stuck. Auricularia auricula judae is a wood decay fungus, specialized to elder wood. Its gelatinous texture built from glucans, sugar molecules that let it survive dehydration, shrinking to a hard husk in dry weather and rehydrating within hours of rain. Related species are studied today for anticoagulant and antioxidant properties. A fungus tied to one of history's darkest legends turns out to be one of the forest's most resilient organisms, able to die and come back with nothing more than rain. The eyelash cup fungus rarely grows larger than a fingernail, a small orange-red disc ringed with dark, hair-like bristles that look, under a macro lens, exactly like eyelashes around an open eye. Scutellinia scutellata grows on damp wood and soil, and those bristles, called setae, likely deter small insects from crawling across its spore surface, while trapping moisture close to the cup. When mature, it discharges spores explosively. A raindrop or footstep triggers thousands of spores firing into the air, sometimes audible as a faint hiss. Almost nobody sees this fungus without looking for it, and yet it's everywhere, firing spores into damp air across forests most people walk through without looking down. Scale has nothing to do with sophistication. The yellow-brained fungus looks like it's feeding on the branch it grows on. It isn't. Tremella mesenterica parasitizes other fungi, specifically wood-decaying species living invisibly inside the same branch. The yellow, gelatinous lobes on the surface are only the reproductive structure. The real organism sends microscopic threads, called haustoria, into its host's mycelium, siphoning nutrients the host already extracted from the wood. It's parasitism layered on decomposition. One organism doing the work, another quietly stealing the reward. Without its specific host, it can't grow at all. What looks like a simple yellow blob is the visible tip of a hidden theft. Running silently beneath bark most people never think to peel back. The ox-tongue fungus looks like a slab of raw meat bracketed onto a tree. Moist, red-brown, and it bleeds red juice when cut. Fistulina hepatica grows on oak and chestnut, causing brown rot that stains the wood a reddish-brown, prized by woodworkers as brown oak. Its underside is made of thousands of separate tubes rather than a fused pore layer, a structural quirk that traces its unusual lineage. It's edible, with a genuinely sour taste unlike anything else in the fungal world. The tree can survive for decades while the fungus slowly works through its heartwood, less an attack than a long, patient negotiation for the same space. Some things in nature don't destroy quickly. They just wait, feeding slowly enough that the difference is barely noticeable. The jelly-tooth fungus is nearly translucent, a pale gelatinous cap that looks pulled from a tide pool. Pseudohydnum gelatinosum grows on decaying conifer logs, and underneath, there are no gills, just hundreds of small, tooth-like spines, each releasing spores from its tip. That structure dramatically increases surface area for spore output. Its jelly-like body, built from glucan polysaccharides, survives freezing and drought by shrinking to a dormant husk and swelling back within hours of moisture. Sometimes called cat's tongue fungus, it's edible but largely flavorless. What's easy to miss is how much engineering sits inside something this simple-looking: dormancy, rehydration, and spore output, solved by a design running 400 million years before humans got to material science. 13 organisms. 13 solutions to the same ancient problems. How to reproduce without moving, how to eat what's already dead, how to survive being mistaken for something else entirely. None of them know they're strange. They just run the process that's kept their lineage alive for hundreds of millions of years, indifferent to whether anyone's watching. The forest floor isn't decorative, it's operational. Every bleeding tooth, every corpse-scented lattice, every glowing cap doing exactly what it evolved to do, long before we arrived. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you already know what to do.